Are you curious about the unknown, the unexplainable? Do you find yourself intrigued by the mysterious and paranormal side of our world? Join us on an adventure into the world of inexplicable discoveries and investigations that may someday give us a final answer as to what may be behind the veil of reality. Then it's time to turn your pods up, because we're live to tape from the mountains of West Virginia. It's time once again for Let's Find Out with co-host Diego. The universe is waiting for you.
Live to tape from the mountains of West Virginia. It's another episode of Let's Find Out with co-host Diego. Thank you for taking this journey with me. On this episode of Let's Find Out, Tombstone Paranormal are a husband and wife team with a dedicated mission to seek out the truth and help those affected by the paranormal. We will be discussing some of their past cases and where these investigations have taken them. All this plus more. Please welcome our new friends, Jim and Dawn Brown. They are Tombstone Paranormal. My friends, welcome to Let's Find Out. Thank you for taking the time off your busy schedules to be on the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so before we begin, and I kind of feel forced to ask, so did the paranormal bring you both together, or was this something that you guys found out later on during the relationship about your love for the paranormal?
I've been into the paranormal for a long time. Dawn and I worked together for a number of years. And oddly enough, at the beginning, she didn't even like me.
Same thing with my wife.
And
still don't know.
Right. But I've been into the paranormal for quite a long time. Got interested when I was a kid. She, knows that I was interested in it, and just kind of hopped on board, because it's something I was interested in, and supported me. And she's got like a love for like cemeteries. Is kind of like her thing. She, they're gorgeous and how that all is. And she has not like many like experiences in her life, and but she is more like a sensitive, I guess you'd call her. Just has like feelings, when you're in certain areas or rooms, like you're not alone. And so she's been helping me out a great deal, doing most all the recording, all the pictures taking. I get into it initially like a lot of people have, having an experience. When I was like 8 years old, we moved to Berlin, Germany. My father was in the Air Force, and we lived there for 4 years. So there was some occasions there that my brother and I shared a room. He was on one side and I was on the other. Wake up at night and see like a like black figure at the foot of my bed. Sometimes it was 2, sometimes it was 3. And being a kid, you just kind of like pull the covers up over and hope everything goes away. And over a period of time, I guess you become desensitized to it.
Right.
As you get older, you just kind of like move on with stuff. And then you just start remembering, things, seeing pictures, reminiscing about places that we've been. And it's like, oh yeah, shit, I remember having these experiences before. And then about the time that I was getting interested, shows were coming out. Different kind of equipment was coming out, other than like the little recorders that they had back in the day, which were effective, obviously. They worked for Ed and Lorraine Warren,
Oh, yeah.
So there's no downplay on that kind of stuff. Technology just got better over time. And that's basically what got me into the paranormal, is just try to figure out what exactly it was that I saw. And there's, shadow figures, you get a lot of people's different opinions on it. Was it a shadow figure? Could have been alien. You don't know, and I definitely didn't know as a kid. And of course, when you share those things with your parents and they're going to pacify you, come check your room and everything and make sure everything's okay. But nothing really got much deeper than that, and my brother had some experiences as well when we were there. And he likes to join in, him and his wife, from time to time with us, which will bring us to one of the cases that we were doing. My brother works at an elementary school in a small town here in Maine, Sebago. And the original part of the school was an old farmhouse built in 1860. And it was purchased by a woman and then donated to the town for an elementary school so they could have kids centrally located instead of having, back in the day, elementary school here and then 5 miles you have to ride your horse to another one. And they tried to make everything more centered for the town. So the guy that just took over as the principal there had a few experiences, and my brother did too there, but never shared it with this guy. And then he goes, well, my brother and his wife investigate paranormal. So we went to the school, but we only really investigated the old house part of it, which there was a lot of activity, a ton of it, down in what was the 3rd grade room. Dawn and my sister-in-law did some EVP sessions down there. They used the K2 down there. We're getting lots of responses, like direct responses to the exact names that we know of. We went up to the attic. My brother has had experiences with a little girl, seeing a little girl. And we were up there and we used the lit cat balls, that you can buy a 3-pack up for like $10. So we put it down on the attic floor and we just were stamping and backing up until our stamping didn't affect it anymore. And then took another step back for the just in cases. So then I told him, I said, start asking your questions from the experiences you have. So he started asking, are you the little girl that I see sometimes? And he goes, if you are, if you touch that ball, it'll make pretty lights go. And the light instantly went off. And every question that he was asking, the lights were just going right off on that thing. What was it?
She rolled it.
Yep. Oh, yeah. She rolled the ball. And so we had good information and good evidence for the principal to see. He's not quite bold enough to join us in on it, but eventually I think he may, just to give him a little more ease to it, because nothing there is malicious. The people that donated the house, they actually were responding to Dawn and my sister-in-law's questions. They were asking, them by name. And they were wonderful people back, and they passed away in the very early 1900s. But they have done a lot for the town of Sebago. So you don't really have to worry much about any of the activity and from the little girl there, because nobody's ever been harmed, and so it's just, it jumps and scares people sometimes, what the unknown does.
Yeah, and you're talking earlier, because I was going to ask you the question about the kind of tactics that you use in order to get a reaction from these spirits or ghosts, because I know you're using the devices that you were talking about earlier in order to record or sense these presences. But so what type of questions are you asking in order to get a response from these entities?
Well, when we go into a room, a lot of times we just establish that we're there to visit. We don't want to intrude. We don't mean anybody any disrespect or any harm.
We ask permission.
Yeah, we ask permission. If they mind while things are rolling. And we just ask respectful questions like, and the standard one is anybody in this room with us? Do you have a name? Are you a male or a female? Are you an adult or a child? Those kind of questions. And then it will go on with the information that we have wherever we're at. Then we can just continue to ask questions with the information that we've already got and just wait for responses. Which in those devices, as high tech as they are and as awesome as a lot of the equipment is, they do tend to fail sometimes, which was what happened to us in the basement at the Conjuring House. If I can segue to that, if you don't mind.
No, please do, because we were talking about that in the pre-interview, and I should have hit record right there, but let's go through that again, because that was amazing.
Yeah, I'll go to the one that I was talking about with you initially,
Sure.
which was an event we did, and we had Adam Bagan come with us, and he was doing his live broadcast. And that was an event we were doing for the Historical Society in Bridgeton, Maine, and they have a beautiful old farmhouse that was built in 1797, and a gorgeous barn, and an amazing property that was there. And we were the first paranormal team that had been invited to investigate there. So we took the opportunity and we're very honored to be part of it. I'm lucky enough to have a friend of mine that's involved in the historical society, so we can gain access to the house itself. But being the first people there was a huge honor for us. So we brought enough equipment so we could break the crowd up that actually paid to come there and use some of the equipment. So we started off using an SB11, which is my favorite spirit box currently, and I've been using it for a few years now. And when we started getting responses to questions, which are the basic questions that I was just talking to you about, and we're getting responses back, and the people could hear what was going on, they just started getting like their ears perked up. They were getting interested in it. They wanted to ask questions. We were letting people one at a time ask questions. My friend that is involved with the Historical Society, his wife initially was afraid to be involved in any of it. But as we were doing it and as we were getting responses and gathering evidence there, she became more, comfortable in that atmosphere of nothing is going to harm her, which I think was her biggest fear. That's the thing about some of the TV shows, and I don't want to bash any shows that are out there currently.
Yeah, I understand what you're going to say. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I have some friends that actually do some of them shows and stuff. They just add such an element for ratings, and I get all of that. You could be more honest within all of it too, because you can be in a place for 7 or 8 hours and get nothing. You know what I mean? But nobody wants to watch that. But that's the reality of paranormal. That's the reality of looking for UFOs or looking for Bigfoot. You know what I mean? You spend countless hours or months or weeks, and you don't always get stuff that you're looking for. And it's just patience and persistent. But within all that, we were lucky enough to be able to go through the house, and we did. Adam and I were doing a tour of the upstairs, and off the master bedroom up there, there's a room that they called the sick room. And that's when fevers were happening or any other kind of pneumonias or whatever, they would quarantine to that particular room. When you walk into that room, there's such a heaviness to it on your chest. It just totally takes your breath away. And Adam and I look at each other and he goes, "Dude, are you feeling this?" And I go, "Yeah." I can barely catch my breath in here. So we just walked out the other door, and it just goes right away. But nothing there. She didn't have any feelings. Dawn didn't, of anything that was malicious or hateful. There's nothing within the family history of any of those kind of actions either. They were just a family that had means, and came from Massachusetts up this way and had a gorgeous farm and started a new life up this way back in the late 1700s, and had a grand old time. But what a gorgeous house. They had 200 acres at the time, and what did they have there? Silkworms, believe it or not, in Maine. They had a silkworm farm and were exporting silk. In one of the rooms, they have a whole setup in there. And I snapped photos from the outside of that house. And in that room, from the back field looking up in that room, I circled a couple of the photos to show my buddy before we even were going to have an event there. And I told him, I need to get to that room because I need to see what these are in that room. And where those windows were, there was nothing inside that room that were making those face, objects that you can clearly see in the photos. So it's an amazing old house to be in. And we were really honored and lucky actually to be the first people of paranormal background to be able to go in there.
And that's pretty awesome, because touching back on something you said earlier, we're talking about the TV shows where, and I know for entertainment purposes, it can tend to be more theatrical at times, but the reality is you could go to these locations, you could be there a week, 12 hours a day, 24 hours, you might not get anything.
Absolutely.
You might get something. So during the course of the investigation, during your time at these locations, is there a specific time of the day where the activities more or less, whether there's morning, afternoon, or overnights, does it matter what time? Can it happen any time during the day?
It can happen anytime during the day. And we've been to places at different times of the day. If there's activity, there's activity. And there's always, you hear about residual activity, which are things that happen like over and over again at specific times of the day, which could be 1 o'clock in the morning. It could be 9 o'clock in the morning, and it's just a loop in time that continuously goes and goes. And then there's intelligent ones that interact with you. However, I don't find the time of day or the time of night to personally, from what we've done and what I've experienced, to make a difference, quite honestly. If there's activity in a home, it's going to happen regardless of what time of day it is. And they always use 3 o'clock, and I've never really personally understood it. And if somebody could explain it to me crystal clear, I might hop on board with it. But they always use the 3 o'clock as like the witching hour.
Yeah, the dead time, right? Something like that.
Yeah, where you get the most activity. I've never personally have experienced that. I've always gotten stuff earlier in the day, afternoon, early evening. I've never really have gotten everything that is, between midnight and 3 or midnight and 4. So, I mean, and maybe that's what some people do. It goes that way. Maybe it's the energy that we have ourselves.
Right.
Everything goes off of energy, and maybe that's why I had experiences several times when I was a kid. Maybe I have a certain energy. Maybe Dawn has a certain, you know what I'm saying? That's what happens when we're no longer on Earth. We're part of energy, I think.
And now during the course of your investigations, of course, you recorded some of these sounds or words that these spirits have said. Which one, if you can go back and think about it, which one stood out the most? Which one shocked you?
My mind just went to recently when we were over here in the cemetery and we were using
Holy crap. We were over here.
Let's do it. Let's go.
We were here over in Freiburg this past summer, and there's a cemetery not too far from us. And we're going in there, and one of the founding fathers of this town is there. And he's been gone since mid 1700s. And I'm standing right beside his enormous, gorgeous, pillar stone. And I'm just saying, I know you're a founding father of this town. The town is actually named after you. Are you proud of that? Is that something that you feel honored by, that a group of people wanted to name a place after you? And I got a response that said "nutter," which is, if you look it up, it's like an English word meaning it's calling me a crazy person. You nutter, which this guy came from England originally. So I found that to be kind of odd. And then there was more of a tune that was just kind of like parallel to that. The person there was an artist back in the mid 1800s, and they have this gorgeous above ground tune. And I was there asking questions, and I wished I could remember the exact question that I asked, but it said something about wanting my soul. And I said, "We're done."
But then, and it was, what were we using?
Paratech.
Yeah.
I was using the Paratech app actually with that on my phone, which I never really trusted. But then I started getting responses to my exact questions with it and go, maybe some things do actually work depending on the person. You know what I mean? Whatever vibe you may carry with you. But yeah, and that was enough when it wanted my soul. I was just shutting down right at that point and moving on.
But then it kept a whole list of things for die.
Yeah, die.
It was
what? Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
So that's what that was.
So I said, yeah, we're done and out of here for a while. So I'll go back again, but I might avoid that guy for a little bit of time.
Yeah, I don't think he was in the mood for an interview.
That was the thing that I think jumped me the most out of everything.
We got shot at a cemetery.
Holy crap.
I'm sorry, you did what?
We got shot at in an old cemetery. It's on a back road. And we got out of work at the time we worked together. We got out of work. We had our camera. It's, I don't know, 9:30 at night, I think July or whatever it was. So we drive down this dirt road of a cemetery she knew about. And we had been there during the day and go, wow, this would be gorgeous if people actually took care of it. And we went in there and we're doing our thing and doing some filming and trying to get some EVPs going on. And all of a sudden, you hear a gunshot, bang! And I said, was that a gunshot? And she goes, yeah. And then another one came right after it, bang! So we had to shut, obviously, the lights to the cameras off. We're ducking down so we could like sneak back through to get to the truck. And she goes, hey, watch out for the cobwebs. And right when she said that, I went through the biggest one. It felt like shoestrings right across my face.
That's awful.
Walking right through there. But
A couple more bullets went by.
yeah, a couple bullets went zinging right across out through the boondocks. And we're like in the middle of nowhere on a dirt road, on a backwoods road in Maine, checking out a cemetery. And all of a sudden, bullets are going through the trees. So we got.
Wait a minute. Now, let me ask you this. I don't know the gun laws in Maine. I know here in West Virginia, it's open carry and there's outdoor shooting ranges. Were you close to any shooting range, or was somebody hunting, or can somebody actually shoot in their backyard, Maine?
Oh, you can't hunt after dark, but
right.
Open carry.
Open carry. You can shoot in your backyard if you want to.
You can't shoot towards like within 100 feet of a house or something like that. Right?
150 feet of a home. You certainly can't shoot across the road. And especially if you see a vehicle there, you probably shouldn't shoot that way anyways. But yeah, that was a pretty hairy experience too. And but we went down to the Conjuring house a couple years ago before the little guy was born. And she was actually pregnant with him when we went down there. And we did an overnight investigation with a bunch of other teams that they were having an event, and we stayed in the birthing room there, which was supposedly the most active room on the second floor. Quite honestly, we didn't get a lot there. Other people did. We got most of our activity at the time in the library on the first floor. Got a lot of responses there to questions, which was pretty awesome. Never got a vibe of like malicious hate, any of that kind of feeling.
Which is kind of going back again to the movies and the Hollywood shows. And
not saying there isn't any of that does happen there, because I'm sure there could be a portion of that there. We didn't personally experience any of it. The basement was the most active of anything that we had, but it was killing the batteries in our equipment left and right. Trying to use the spirit box. I'm running on the FM frequency, and I have one going forward and one in reverse. It tends to work better that way if you have the frequencies going the opposite. It would kick me right to AM. So I'd ride with the AM for a while. Then it would kick me to FM, and then my battery would die. So then I'd pop in a new battery, and it would be the same thing over and over again. So I just went to the K2 meter. So I walked through the room, just seeing where any of electricity might be active in there, and then I just put it down. And then we just stood there and started asking questions. If anybody is in this, and it was the well room there, the one that people go, there's a lot of activity. And there would be. It's an open underground well underneath the house. And it's granite. So that's, you know what I mean? There's that kind of water, granite type of energy happening. But at any rate, we were getting like direct responses to whatever color we were asking it to go to. It would instantly go to that. You can go, if there's anybody in this room, can you make this go to green? Boom, instantly green. There was a football on a chair when we first did like a tour down there. When we went down to investigate, the football was on the ground. So I referenced the football. And if the person that is in this room put it there, can you make it go to red? Red. So any questions that we were addressing there, it would go right to whatever color that we chose. It did it to the next room over as well.
And they were up getting what we were asking downstairs. They were getting responses upstairs in the room that we were actually staying in while we were investigating downstairs.
Right, through their spirit box. So we're asking questions in the basement, and then on the second floor, they're getting responses in a spirit box. And we only found that out
when we were going over
stuff with that, and everybody was sharing their experiences. Go, 10 minutes ago, we were in the basement asking this question and that question. I go, well, that's weird, because we were getting responses, but we didn't know what football was for, and we didn't know what this was for. And so it all made sense. But we were asking, supposedly there's like a crooked neck man in the basement. Didn't get anything like that, but I know other people have in the past. We didn't experience any of that. Everything that we experienced was awesome, actually.
It was, yeah.
It was
there
really
was
good.
Definitely, there was a lot of things going on,
Yeah.
but it was not like what you see in Hollywood.
No, I mean, what a great place if you can ever
It's
get there
beautiful,
and
too.
experience
It's just
it.
a beautiful place.
It's a beautiful, gorgeous property, and the people that currently own it now have it like in the summer. You can actually camp out in the field and investigate. You can investigate out there anyways, but it's a beautiful place to go experience because there's a lot that goes on there, a lot. I know Corey and Jen Heinzen, who owned it originally, lived there for like 2 solid years. And they had reports, and their kids have experienced like cabinet doors opening or other doors closed. You know what I mean? All of that kind of stuff. But when we were there for like about 8 hours, probably total, if that, or maybe that, yeah, probably 12, I guess, or something like that. We didn't have any of that kind of experience. But I know there's other shows, and I know people that are doing those shows have had those, and it's awesome. And that's what I was hoping we were going to get. And
I wasn't.
Right. The longer you can stay in a spot, and there's a show out there. What was it? 28 Days or whatever, with Shane Pittman and them guys who do amazing work, by the way. The longer that you're there, and if you can actually live there for a while, the more you're obviously going to experience. Too, but it's such a great place to go to, and if you can ever come towards New England, and do something like that, I would highly suggest it. Come to Maine, and we'll bring you to the Historical Society house up there where we went to. You'll love it.
And I think it's the furthest north that I've been. It was actually this year was to Massachusetts. But let me ask you this: in that location, was you got a lot more activity there, or in other cases where you've been, have you had the same type of activity as that house?
Every house is different. All the, and every story to every house is different. Energies are different. Experiences are different. The elementary school, the Conjuring House, a place that I used to work, were the most active buildings that I've ever been into. I shared my experience on a show on the Travel Channel in a place I worked with before. That had a ton of activity in it. Sometimes places that you go into that you can debunk like everything, because a lot of old houses make noise.
Yeah. Yep.
There's pipes in the walls that they didn't really fasten down to, the wall studs back in the day, and they rattle. There's a lot of it. But that's not saying that they don't experience stuff, because you can experience it. You could experience things off of electricity too. If you're too close to a large electrical source. There's lots of different things that affect us personally. Could be like even mental health wise. You know what I mean? People, or addiction can give you certain experiences wherever you're at as well. I had a guy contact me, so I reached out to a friend of mine that is a deacon at a church, and he handles more of a demonic element of everything, which I thought would be a more appropriate avenue for this guy to go to. And there's an interview process that they go through, a questionnaire for people to fill out, because you have to weed out certain things before you can commit to going and taking these on, like as far as demonologists are concerned. The guy would like to say a recovering addict, but he didn't recover. So we had that. So were things like hallucinations for him? You know what I mean? It's hard to separate. Did he really have things going on in the paranormal or not? I didn't follow up to see if he took the case on. I just knew some information about this guy within the questionnaire, because I was able to look at it before I passed it on to the next level. I just never pursued to see if they took it on or not, and the guy never contacted me again. So I don't know. And in the line, the work I do, I work in residential with kids and stuff, and I work in an old home, and kids have lots of energy. Kids have anxiety, and they have depression. With the kids that I work with, they throw off things. There are things that happen there. I obviously don't talk about it with the kids, but there are things that go on there that they're kind of oblivious to. I pay attention to, because I love old buildings. I love the history to them. I love a lot of places that I don't know anything about and go into first and then research it. You know what I mean? So I don't have a blinded or a pre-notion of what could happen when I'm in there. I just like to go in blind sometimes, quite honestly, to learn, and then take the data that we get, that we document, and research it and see how compatible it is to the history of a place. Also, we've been focusing a lot of times lately on cemeteries, trying to do like a documentary on a lot of them in our general area, just to bring up the history of like the surrounding towns here. On New England, I mean, that's where everything started. You know what I mean? And ventured out. So we have a very early history in the United States. So love it.
Yeah, and then with the temporary break that Tombstone Paranormal took, where do you both see yourselves doing? I know 2023 is almost ending, 2024 is coming up. Where are you headed next? What locations will you be investigating?
I want to finish up a few more of the cemeteries just to get more material so we can edit and get that out there. And then we're opening up to like doing more events or any phone calls or emails or anything people send our way if they need help. And we're by all means willing to go out and do our best to get information to make people feel better about where they live and to bring some education to them.
And for the, if not just the listeners, but for the folks that live in your area and perhaps they suspect something's going on their land or in their home, and they can't quite understand what's happening, how would they get a hold of you to maybe fill out a questionnaire, have an interview with you before you go and visit that location?
They can go to our page on Facebook, Tombstone Paranormal. I believe it's 13. They can email us, tombstone@gmail.com. We have a YouTube channel. We've yet to really push it, but they could check things out there to get comfortable with us. And, if they need to check us out before they reach out, by all means do that. Yeah, that's kind of where you can get all of our information currently, is right from our Facebook page. It's got our phone number. It's got our email address. We don't care how. If you guys need some help, just reach out any way, shape, or form. We're more than willing and eager to give people a hand if we can.
Once again, I'd like to thank both of you for being on the show. I know it took a little while to get you back, but great. Thank you for being on. And hopefully, once you guys get the wheels rolling again, do these investigations, come back to the show, and you can do a full report of what you saw. If that's good with you.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I'm originally from Ohio, planning to go visit my family, which is kind of nicely situated between the Belair House in Belair, Ohio, and the West Virginia Penitentiary in Moundsville, as far as investigations and stuff like that. So
Moundsville's been on my bucket list for a long time. It looks gorgeous.
Awesome. Hopefully you can capture some footage, put it on the YouTube channel, and we can all watch it and then come back here and report about it. It'd be awesome.
Yeah, no doubt.
This has been another excellent episode of Let's Find Out with co-host Diego. Please check us out on all our social media pages as well as our YouTube channel, and we're also on Rumble. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for taking this journey with me. Until next time, my friends.
Thank you for listening to Let's Find Out with co-host Diego. We're on Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, Pocket Casts, and on Anchor. For more information about Let's Find Out with co-host Diego, please visit us on Facebook.com/co-host Diego, on Twitter at co-host_Diego, and on Instagram as co-host Diego. Copyright co-host Diego. All content for Let's Find Out is the property of co-host Diego and is served directly from our servers with no modification, redirects, or rehosting. All celebrity impersonators are paid performers. The impersonated celebrities do not endorse or promote any views or opinions expressed by our guests, co-host Diego, or Let's Find Out. The information shared on Let's Find Out is provided on an as-is basis with no guarantees of completeness, accuracy, usefulness, or timeliness.